Hey, everybody. This is the Heidi St. John podcast, and today you're in for a special treat. My friend, Dr. Mark Sherwood, is on the show with me today, and we're going to spend the next 20 minutes or so answering listener questions. This is the Off the Bench podcast. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Well, hey, Dr. Mark Sherwood, I'm going to jump right in because we have so many great questions. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Let's do it. This is exciting. I love this time.
I do too. And you and I were just going over some of these before we started. And we're so thankful for the audience, for those people who continue to send questions in. And you're giving such wonderful counsel. Before we get going, I'm going to start where I usually end. And that's I want you to tell people a little bit about yourself and where they can find you.
Well, they can find us. Thank you for that. They can find us at sherwood.tv. And that's a site. There's a lot of free things there. There's our books and our movies, and people can work with us if they want to. There's all kinds of things that people can latch on to that can help them get through life. I like to consider us maybe human performance experts as God directs, right? And so there is a place. We get to work with people all around the country and the world, and we do a free webinar once or twice a month where people can find out what we do and schedule appointments with us.
I love that. And you and I became friends when you were running for governor.
I know, right?
In the great state of Oklahoma. So we have an affinity for politics. Every once in a while, we talk about that here on the show as well. Speaking of that, I'm going to hit you with something that I just read in the news right before you came on. You ready for this? It's going to be about a day old by the time people hear this. But the Colorado Supreme Court just removed former President Donald Trump from their state's 2024 presidential ballot after ruling that he engaged in an insurrection. It's very insurrection-y in the state of Colorado. With his actions January 6, 2021, CNN reports that the 4-3 ruling will be placed on hold pending an appeal until January 4th. This is obviously it's a breaking news story as of right now. What's your take? What's going on?
Well, I do think that obviously that one's going to end up on the steps of the Supreme Court at some point. I think that these appeals will go on, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which side you are on that coin, I do think that the appeals of this one, because I know our Supreme Court now, they tend to weigh in on things a little bit late in the game. Because it takes the pressure off and it makes it a
and they're
moot
hoping
issue.
people will figure it out. I think
that's
it. Like, come on, you guys, figure it out. Yeah,
I think this one will be passed around the appeals court probably for several months. And I think it most likely, my hunch is it will go past the November election time.
Yeah, crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I think everybody just buckle up, 2024 is going to be a bumpy ride. I was at a luncheon a couple of days ago, and I was asked about a word. What would be my word for 2024? I think that's a really good thing to think about, right?
Oh, that's
What
good.
is it? And I have a word. My word for 2024 is going to be shine. It's going to be shine.
Yeah.
I think we got an opportunity, right?
I think so. And I thought of the word reconnect.
Yes.
Like reconnect with our foundation, our heritage, our father,
I love that. I love that. All right. You ready to jump into some questions?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's do it. Lindsay in Texas. Her daughter has alopecia. She wrote, Heidi, I'm thankful for your podcast. You are full of encouraging godly wisdom. Thank you. Lindsay, we appreciate that. I have a question for Dr. Mark. My 13-year-old daughter has alopecia. She hasn't lost all of her hair yet, but she's close to it. We have tried steroid shots, topical steroids for the past 6 months, but nothing is working. Her dermatologist recommended a brand new medication that the FDA just approved for alopecia patients as young as 12, but I don't have peace about placing a Band-Aid with many possible side effects on her problem. I'd rather heal her from the inside out. I've read a lot of success stories with alopecia and hair growth by following an anti-inflammatory diet. What are your thoughts on this? And do you recommend any extra vitamins or supplements? Thank you, Dr. Mark, for all you're doing to help others.
Well, I have a similar case. I had a young woman who was in high school. She came in the office and her parents brought her in, and she had a big old hair kind of comb over, and half of her face was hidden. And I knew the situation. She had the beginning stages of some partial alopecia up in her head, and she was covering it up with hair growth, and she was ashamed. Right. She just didn't want people to see it. And it broke my heart. So we actually went straight to the anti-inflammatory diet. Go figure, because alopecia is an autoimmune condition. And so when you see an autoimmune condition, you want to think, Most of the time, it began with a leaky gut, and that becomes something of a problem today because a majority of Americans have it. So, the standard American diet should be, first of all, eliminated. So, these processed grains and breads and sugars things, you pull those out first. That's step number one. You let the gut heal itself. Step number two, you bring in anti inflammatory fortification nutrients such as omega 3 fatty acids, such as specialized pro resolving mediators, such as vitamin D. And you get those things up there to the volume. And I want you to also utilize some peptides. GHK copper cream. I want you to apply that right on that area. Rub it in the scalp, man, right there where you're seeing the balding part. And I want you on the inside, subcutaneous, to use a peptide called thymosin alpha 1. And that's THYMOSIN 1. And so that way we've got a broad approach to this situation and see if we can get this hair to come back.
I love that. And people can reach out to you for these things, right? They find you at
Yes.
Sherwood.tv/Heidi. Lots of people that listen to this show now, I know, are reaching out to you guys,
Yeah.
and you're able to help people wherever they live. You guys are in Oklahoma, but you've been working with me for some time now, and also
Mhm.
a couple of my kids. And
Yeah.
what I mean, obviously, I don't want to dive into this piece of it, but the truth of the matter is people are frustrated with the medical community right now.
They
There's
are.
a lot of distrust. Thank you, COVID,
Mhm.
and all the garbage that we all just lived through for the last 3.5 years. And so I'm excited to refer people to you, not only
Yeah.
because I know you personally, but because I've also worked with you in a professional capacity, because you've been seeing members of my family. So I want to encourage people. You guys can
Hmm.
reach out to Mark at Sherwood.tv/Heidi, and he can help you. Rachel in Wisconsin. She says, Dr. Mark, can you settle this for me? What do I eat for weight loss and overall health? There's so much conflicting information about food out there. To lose weight, I've tried keto, vegetarian, paleo, eating for your body type, carnivore, nothing works. I'm a 40-year-old mom of 4 homeschooled kids, one who is autistic. Now people are saying even vegetables are bad for you because of oxalates. I'm so
Mhm.
confused. What do I do to lose weight and be healthy? Before you get to this, I just saw an interview, and I don't
Mhm.
know if you've seen it, with Oprah Winfrey, and
Yeah.
she sits on the board of Weight Watchers,
Yeah.
and she just came out and basically said that she is now on a medication for weight loss. She won't
Mhm.
say which one it is, but I know she has stake in a company
Yeah.
that is talking. And she said this is in the brain. People need to stop. And I do think there's some truth to that, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not always just about what people eat. She said she had tried dieting her whole life. Nobody's more famous for dieting than Oprah
That's
Winfrey.
right.
But there's a lot of really conflicting
Mhm.
information out there, and I think it's only going to get more conflicting as we move into 2024.
Well, it is, and I appreciate you, Rachel, and your question, and I want to acknowledge the homeschool mom that you are. So thank you for
Holla!
doing that. That's a big
Shout out.
deal, and
It
so
is.
yeah, I just really honor you for that. Thank you for giving those kids an opportunity. As
Mm.
far as the weight loss drug, I'll start there because there's a lot of things out there. There's prescription drugs called Manjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy.
Ozempic.
And
Yep.
these are going to be called GLP-1 agonists. So I want everybody listening to put their fists together like I've got in front of me. So you're going to make two fists and put them together. And then you're going to look at that and realize that's the size of your heart. And then you're going to remove one fist and you're going to look at that and you're going to go, geez, that's the size of your stomach. So the stomach
Mm.
is the size of a fist. It's not the size of a football. It's not the size of a basketball. It's a fist. So what causes people to really gain a lot of weight is we eat too fast, too much, and the wrong type of foods. So it's not about really restricting calories, Rachel. It's about bringing in the right food sources, God's food sources. So the anti-inflammatory nutritional protocol, non-dieting approach is the way to go about it. If God made it, eat it. If you're hungry, eat. If you're not, don't. That's step one. Step two is understand these drugs. We have used these drugs. We use the base of that drug called semaglutide, Semagultide. I've used it a lot myself, not because I needed to lose weight, but because I wanted to understand how it works. So I started and stopped it for about a 6 month period between November of 2022 and about May of 2023. And my wife has also used it too. What they do, and they do help if guided correctly under proper supervision and training. I want to put that in context. They can help a person hear the full signal quicker. So the signal from the stomach, that fist-sized organ, to the brain is called GLP-1. And if you can get that signal sped up to the brain, you will hear full quicker and it will prevent you from overeating. And that's how we see that drug work. I think it has great applicability, great potential if used correctly, but it needs to be used in this fashion, in my strong opinion, like training wheels. Training wheels teach us to ride. They teach us to ride a bike. This must be used to teach us to do lifestyle correctly.
Wow. And what we really want to do is guard against thinking this is the only thing that you have to do. There's some sort of a
That's it.
miracle drug, and we're already reading stories about people who are having trouble with Ozempic and
Mhm.
other drugs like that. So I love that you really said, "Hey, this has to be overseen properly. We've got to really talk about
Yes.
what this looks like." But you're also not shaming anybody. And I think this is true. I mean, Oprah
Mhm.
Winfrey said this, and it's absolutely true. And women feel this, especially women
Yeah.
who've struggled with weight their whole life, or someone like me who's now, well, probably mostly over menopause.
Mhm.
But the fact of the matter is, it's harder for women to lose weight as a general rule. And I think it's true. I mean, my husband says, I think I'll lose some weight. And he just snaps his
Yeah.
fingers and
Yeah.
10 pounds are gone. And I'm just like, well, I don't even like you right now. Like, it's much harder, right? Much harder for me. But I love that you're saying, listen, there's hope. And I think that's what
Yeah.
people really need to hear. There's hope. And you don't have to live with this frustration your whole
Mhm.
life.
Well, and one thing I'll add to that, I think that we probably should not put our goals to be on weight loss because it can be a little unhealthy. It can be unhealthy for the
Hmm.
mind and the psyche and the emotions
Yeah,
because
I
we've been
agree.
shamed too much. It really
Yeah.
should be about following processes where body composition normalization becomes a symptom of the processes we followed. And we see that
Hmm.
all the time. I don't even let people weigh in the office. I check
Yep.
their percent body fat, and because I don't think that it's healthy to chase the scale personally,
Hmm.
because you can lose muscle, get less healthy,
Yes.
lose
Yeah.
weight, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah. I could not agree more. I quit using a scale a long, long time ago
Yeah.
for that reason. Haley in Wisconsin says, Hey, Dr. Mark, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on rhodiola for cortisol control. I'm currently taking ashwagandha and magnesium as well as a multivitamin for anxiety. Do you have suggestions for decreasing or regulating cortisol levels? Is this a lab I should ask my doctor to order?
Well, Haley, I appreciate that question because cortisol is a hormone that is secreted by the adrenal glands when you have a lot of stress. So, understand the root of that is perceived stress, like things that occur in the mind. The mind is separate from the brain, and the brain responds to what we perceive to be a danger, and it creates this chemistry in our body, including the synthesis and induction of cortisol secretion. Now, having said that, what you're using, ashwagandha, is wonderful. Rhodiola can help you a lot. 5-HTP or 5-hydroxytryptophan can help you a ton. Um, Simply put, you can also take an Epsom salts bath. How about that, right? Good common sense stuff.
Sign me up for that.
Those are nice, right? And then you want to
Mm,
think about this, a good old fashioned walk, because walking has been known for centuries to be a catabolizer of adrenaline, which is a precursor to, guess what? Cortisol. If you do a cortisol test, Haley, I recommend you do a 4-spot saliva cortisol test as opposed to a blood test. You'll get a better reading. You'll get a better reading over the course of time, and it will give you more information.
I love that. Is that something you guys could do also?
Yes, obviously, it's a little kind of, I call it this professional spit test, right? Really
Right.
easy to do. It's no problem. We could send that to your house, Haley, in this instance, and give you guidance because the cortisol curve is a big thing to understand as it relates to our sleep. Cortisol should spike in the morning and not at night. If it's opposite of that, or you have deviance or variation in that cortisol melatonin cycle, it can really disturb your life. And speaking of our last um, question person, Rachel, it can cause weight gain as well if you've got too much cortisol.
Yep, absolutely true. And we've talked about this before on the show. Ashwagandha changed it
Mhm.
was a game changer for me
Yes.
with regard to cortisol levels in my body and anxiety. And boy, I'll tell you what, I love that people are writing in and talking about that.
Mhm.
There's also a really great uh, Young Living has a wonderful product called Cortistop, and I did that for a
Yes.
while too. Same idea, but the goal here is to reduce that cortisol in your body,
Mhm.
and there are lots of ways to do it. And I love that you are reaching out and talking about this, Haley, because a lot of people don't like to talk about it. So I love that
No.
we're bringing it out of the dark and out into the open here. I love that. An anonymous listener in Virginia wants to know your thoughts on EMDR therapy. She's heard this involves hypnosis, and she's not sure how she feels about that as a believer.
Well, anonymous in Virginia, I think you need to be a little cautious with the subconscious realm. You know,
I
if you
agree.
begin to open the door is opened, and I think that's a good thought. You know, I've talked to people a lot about this, and I think that, and I'll use a term that we all understand, hyper spiritual. You start playing with demons, you'll get acquainted with demons. And
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
something about that door that I think we need to close. And I encourage in this thing, really, anonymous in Virginia, to really pray through this, really seek peace. And if you have a check in your spirit, the answer is
Mhm,
no, right?
mhm.
And really take that to the Lord, because although I'm not going to say it can't benefit somehow, it can, but there is a window there that you begin to look into that can lead to um, potential other open doors that you might not want to go into.
Yeah, I agree. There's a great article on this over at gotquestions.org, and I love these guys for their biblical advice. They said that one problem with EMDR is the fact that a client chooses a positive cognition with which to replace the negative cognition
Yeah.
associated with a traumatic memory. If the positive cognition is based on biblical truth, there will be no issue. But if it's based in worldly wisdom, then it could result in one problem simply being exchanged for another. And then they referred you to James chapter 3, who is wise and understanding among you. By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, and even demonic. For where there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there will be disorder and every vile practice. But the wisdom from above is pure and then peaceable,
Mm,
gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. And I think,
mm,
boy,
beautiful.
I loved your admonition in this. You want to be really careful what we're playing with, and this is a great article. I'll link back to. I think it goes along well with what you're saying. That's all we've got time for today, Dr. Mark Sherwood. Let us know again where people can find you, and you're there. I mean, you guys are doing some. I've tell everybody here. Dr. Mark and Michelle Sherwood, they're dealing in hope. We've got,
Yeah.
I think, every book you guys have written. You just sent me some more of your Kingdom Candy, which I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and we got a brand new book that I'm gonna send you as well. It's in my hand, it's gonna get signed today. Boom,
Get
and I'm gonna
out of
send it right
town.
to you. This is called The Narrow Road. There you go.
I love it.
It's
I
a
love it.
nice
What's that
devotional.
about?
It's a devotional my wife and I wrote, little one-day reads that we just share our life with people, you know? We just kinda let it all hang out there, and, people can find us, as you stated earlier, at sherwood.tv/Heidi, and, we're really out here to help people. I mean, I wear those wristbands, I've got them on right now that say "Hope Dealer," and I'll wear them,
Mm,
and I'll find myself giving them away to people sometimes on the street as the Lord leads. It's kinda cool, you know, but, we all need to be hope dealers, so hopefully this
we
encourages
do.
people as well to receive the hope that God gives us and then freely give it away.
Man, and no better time to do it during the Christmas
Mm,
season. Speaking of which, I hope you and Michelle have a wonderful Christmas, and I'll see you back here after the holiday, and you'll have to tell me how it goes.
sounds great. Merry Christmas to you and your family and everybody else listening. Thank you for the questions throughout the year.
Thank you so much for coming on. Dr. Mark Sherwood, a national treasure. Merry Christmas to you. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the show. Again, you can find Dr. Mark Sherwood. Reach out to him at his practice there with his beautiful wife, Michelle, by going to sherwood.tv/Heidi. You guys have a great Christmas with your families. Love your people well. And I will see you back here again real soon at the intersection of faith and